Rob, how are you, sir?
Great to be with you again, John.
Good to be with you. The name of the article again, and just reviewing it here as you join us, it's called Chances Are Ovechkin Needs a Shot in the Arm. And I guess when you look at what Alex has done throughout the month of March, there have not been a lot of goals scored. And if you go 5-on-5, there's perhaps been even less. What has caused Alex's goal slowdown, do you think, here in the month of March?
I don't know. It's hard to say. They haven't been, great for a little while, but he was still scoring. He goes through slumps every once in a while. Every goal scorer does. So to some extent, you can't be that worried. But when you look at his scoring chances and just his general larger data sets, they are trending in the wrong direction. So he said that injury is still nagging him. You don't know how much that has to do with it, but you'd like to think that if that was really a factor, Barry Trotz would sit him down and give him a chance to rest it up. I don't know if he's just not as motivated. It's hard to believe considering he seems to really enjoy playing and loves scoring goals. So I have a hard time thinking that he just took his foot off the gas. So I think it's just one of those things players go through. It's a little troubling, but I think he can ultimately play through it.
As we have talked about many times on various posts at Japers Rink, there's a lot of graphs and statistical data to back it up, and we tweeted that out. And we encourage you to head to japersrink.com, or you can take it right off our Twitter handle at Capitals Radio and take a look at some of this for yourself. But there seems to be, perhaps, Rob, a little bit of danger when you talk about, especially at this time of the year, you're down to the final 10 games of the regular season. Alex and Nick Backstrom have years upon years of chemistry together. Add that up with the fact that you've got not only Evgeny Kuznetsov having the year that he is having as the second-line center on this team, but in the second half of the season, Andrei Burakovsky has certainly benefited a great deal from having number 92 as his centerman. So I ask you this. If you have something that's working on the second line and you've got, oh, by the way, Justin Williams there too, do you risk breaking up that chemistry at this point in the season? Is that perhaps all the reason to maybe ride this out a little bit with 8-19 and figure, of course, it's going to come back together? Or how big a cautionary tale should that be toward be careful what you wish for?
For me, that second line is secondary. So if you get Alex Ovechkin going, other things seem to fall into place. So, yeah, Burakovsky's looked great playing with Kuznetsov, but if you think you have the answer to get Ovechkin scoring again, I don't see how you pass that up just because it might negatively impact Burakovsky. I think he'll find a way. He's got his confidence. He's skating. Playing with Backstrom isn't like it's a huge step down, and maybe a little change of scenery does well for everyone. And if nothing else, you get them comfortable and get to see what else you have throughout the lineup. But I think the bigger concern is whether this is just one of those situations where, Trotz likes to talk about this like a marriage. I'm sure there's plenty of wives out there who don't love that analogy, but is this a situation where Ovechkin and Backstrom maybe just need a break, or is this something that maybe they're looking a little bit more long-term in terms of diversifying the threats throughout their lineup?
Rob, just stylistically for a minute, comparing Kuznetsov and Backstrom, what are the similarities and what are the differences in how they may be delivering pucks toward Alex? We saw a very limited sample size back before Nick came back from injury in late October, where Kuznetsov was the number one center in Backstrom's absence, and there was some success there in a very small amount of games. What does Evgeny do that maybe Nick doesn't? What does Nick do that Evgeny doesn't? Or is there really not a whole lot that can be gleaned either way?
I think they are pretty different. They're both pass-first guys. They love to look for the setup, and I think that's pretty much where the similarities end. Kuznetsov loves to have the puck on his stick, loves to carry it through neutral. Nick doesn't do that quite as much. He's not as fast or shifty of a skater, but Nick is so smart. There's very few guys who can slow the play down to their speed, and Nick does that regularly, which is just amazing. So I think the concern, and I think Trotz has pointed it out, is that Ovechkin also loves to have the puck on his stick. So, there's only one puck to go around. What happens if you have Kuznetsov and Ovechkin together? I personally like Ovechkin away from the puck because it allows him to get lost in the mix a little bit, and one of the things he's great at is showing up in open spaces where the puck is, and you think, how does this guy get so wide open in the offensive zone? He's the best goal scorer in the game, but it's because of that shark-like killer instinct he has to show up in the right place. And in the NHL, defenses are such swarming, stylistically. When you have the puck, everyone goes towards you and focuses on you, so it's harder, I think, for Ovechkin to get those open looks with the puck. Kuznetsov, he's shifty. He'll take the puck. He'll bring defenses to him, and then he can find Ovechkin. The other major stylistic thing I would point out is that Backstrom is built much more for that cycle game. It's a slower game down low. use body positioning, use smart plays to maintain possession, and then, wait for the opportunity to open up and, make that pass. Ovechkin's not much of a cycler. He likes to just find those open opportunities and take the shot. So once they get in the offensive zone, I think there's a better fit maybe with Kuznetsov, just because it allows them to kind of change up the looks. They're not going to be that methodical build-up on offense, and ultimately, hopefully, he gets that look like Kuznetsov set him up for in overtime not too long ago.
And certainly having a shark-like killer instinct, also pretty positive come playoff time. Rob, I guess no matter how you break it down, whether you say that it's going to be 8-19 and 77 when he's back in the lineup, presumably tomorrow with the flu bug, and you stick with more or less the top six, or you promote some kind of change here in the final 10 games, or that experimentation, if you will. When's the time for experimentation to be over? You've got 10 games here, be 9 after tonight. You go back home. If Oshie's back in the lineup, that is almost a preseason. In fact, it is a preseason, maybe even longer than what a preseason would be, to get ready for the main course and game one of the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. When do you want to see this thing solidified?
I mean, if they find something that starts clicking, then solidify it and stick with it. That's fine. I think the luxury they have with that experience that Ovechkin and Backstrom have together, as you mentioned, is that they can experiment every single game for the rest of the regular season, and I don't think there's going to be any learning curve if they decide, okay, none of this worked, none of it clicked the way we had hoped. We're going back to what we know, is tried and true. I think game one, Ovechkin and Backstrom, they know each other, and they'll go right back to what they've been doing. I think Kuznetsov has played enough with Burakovsky and Oshie and Williams. He's been around the lineup, even Johansson for a little while, so they should be comfortable enough. I think that's one of the luxuries of, having this cushion in the standings, so they don't need necessarily any line to really take over games at this point. They can, figure out what they have, what they like about it, and, move from there, and then, reset the button when the playoffs start.
Name of the article on Japers Rink right now: Ovechkin could use a shot in the arm. Rob Parker joining us here to discuss it. Hey, Rob, thanks as always for joining us. We'll chat with you next Friday.
Thanks again, John, and have a happy holiday weekend.